Hello, friends. Welcome back to GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm the GM Philosopher. Today, we're answering this question from a member of the GM Philosophy Discord. This is a really good question. Here it is. I'll never feel confident that I'm delivering a good game. Every battle is too easy or hard. Every puzzle is too vague. I just never feel like I gave enough. How do you all get past that? Or if you don't feel that, why? So this is from Ezra. Ezra, I'm going to answer this question, and you're actually touching on what might be the second most important decision that a game master ever makes. And it starts with that, and then we branch off from there to deal with kind of like how to start working on this process. Now, when I hear you say this, it makes me realize that you have made the decision to take responsibility for the table. You have taken it upon yourself to own the quality of the game you're running, the quality of the craft going on at your table. This means that you are on a very good path. There are a lot of game masters who really just blame the players or blame outside circumstances for things. But in your comment, you truly take ownership. You say, I'll never feel confident that I'm delivering a good game. Now, please take some solace. Please let this resonate with you. Anyone who feels this way, let this resonate with you for a moment. When you decide to take ownership of your table, when you decide to take responsibility, when you decide to care enough that you actually want to make it good, and when you feel that you failed to meet that mark, to run a successful game, whatever successful means to you, and you basically realize you've missed that mark and you feel a certain kind of way about it. It evokes some kind of feeling. Then, friend, the truth is while that is not a pleasant thing to feel, it means that you're really starting off headed in the right direction. Now, what do we do with it? What do we do with it? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain. Okay. So the very first thing to understand about this is that when we take responsibility for something, we will invariably kind of punish ourselves a bit when we believe we failed at it. Now, this is the bad part of taking responsibility for things. It feels bad when we feel like we missed the mark. But the good thing about it is that we then take all the power into ourselves to affect change, and to adapt. This is true in every area of life, whether it be dating, your career, your marriage, your family life. Whenever you take responsibility for a problem, it might feel bad and suck to say, I'm going to accept this as my fault. But the truth is, when you make that acceptance, you also give yourself all of the power to fix it. This is a very powerful mindset to launch from. I believe very much in this mindset of extreme accountability, extreme ownership. Jocko Willink wrote a book called Extreme Ownership that has affected my life better than probably any other book I've ever read. Such an incredible book. And that's exactly what we're talking about here, okay? But we want to get from that bad feeling to like starting to make progress so we can start feeling good about the games, get good results, so we can feel good about the performance, okay? So here's my take on this. Here's my take. First of all, when you say, I'll never feel confident that I'm delivering a good game, and then you give some examples of things, that you thought kind of went bad, like battles are too easy or too hard, okay? What I think you should do is make yourself a list. List out the 3 things that you think you are doing well, or at least the 3 things you're doing best, okay? And then figure out why you think they're going well and why you feel good about them. It's really important to contrast your wins and your losses. If you only think about your losses, if you only think about the points of struggle, this is going to drag you down. But the truth is, you're probably not failing all across the board. You're probably doing a lot of things really well. So call those things out. Pay attention to those things. Put those things up there and feel good about them because you do deserve that. And you're going to need that emotional energy for the next part. And that's this. Next, you're going to make yourself a list of the 3 things in your last session that you felt like went the worst. Be honest with yourself. This is going to feel brutal, but think about it and think, what are the 3 things that went the worst? The 3 things I did the worst at. Maybe you felt like your NPCs were bad, or you felt like the battle was just, disorganized and non-cohesive, or whatever it is. I want you to pick out the 3 things, and those are the 3 things, the worst things that we're going to work on. So here's what you're going to do. All 3 of those things, you're going to sit down, you're going to think about those things. You're going to think and analyze why they went wrong. You're going to analyze what your approach was and how that approach might have failed, what led to its failure. We need to understand our problems if we want to fix them. We have to understand why they happened. And then I need you to make a theory, like a hypothesis, for how you could make a change to make that problem better in the future. Now, here's the tricky part. You may not know exactly how to fix every problem. You can peruse the videos on my channel. I talk about solving all kinds of problems. But the truth is, when we're talking about problem solving in general, we have to kind of make a hypothesis about what we think will be the solution. And then we need to basically test that. Okay. So this is what I would recommend for you at your table. So you pick the 3 things that you failed the worst at. You identify why they went wrong. Like you basically develop a theory as to why they went wrong, right? And then make a hypothesis about what could be done to make them better, what you're going to plan on doing next time to change the outcome, to turn the feel bads into the feel bests, or to at least make some forward progress, right? And then you're going to plan out those things, right? Very meticulously plan out, like, when I get to this point, here's what I'm going to do to get a better result. And then you just make the plan. And then in the next game, you launch your plans. You just do everything in this new way, using these new theories and this new mindset. And you be very intentional about it. Make yourself a note if you have to remind yourself. I used to leave myself sticky notes. Sometimes I would literally write out a whole sheet of things I wanted to remember while running the game. And they were usually things that I felt like I had done bad last time that I wanted to like redeem myself for this time. And so I would, make a little list. Things, for example, I would say things like one of my biggest problem points in running games that I've continually struggled with is spotlight control. It's probably the thing I struggle with the most. And it also bothers me the most because it makes me feel like I don't give some players enough game time. And it really bothers me, especially quiet players, because I tend to focus more on like the spotlight hoggy players, the players who like role play a lot more. And if I'm not careful, I will forget about the quiet players. And I hate doing this. So I used to make myself a note and say, make sure so-and-so literally gets enough game time. Or sometimes I would plot out little arcs to show all the different characters, and I would make sure that I go through all of them for the session's over, including the quiet players. That way I would make sure they were getting something important, significant happening to them, okay? So what you want to do is you want to make yourself a little list or something to remind yourself so that you're not accidentally stepping into the same traps that led you to that feel bad place to begin with, okay? And here's the hard truth of it, is that you run a game and you get better. And then you run another game and you get better. And then you run another game and then you maybe mess up again and you're so angry at yourself. And then you run another game and you get better. And then you do this. And, we need to do things a lot to truly master them. How long does it take you to master the skill of GMing? Okay, so you might have heard of the 10,000 hour rule. Okay, the concept of needing 10,000 hours to achieve mastery was popularized by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers. This idea was based on research by psychologist Anders Ericsson, who studied expert performers, right? And the idea is that it takes 10,000 hours of doing something to truly master it. It takes 10,000 hours working on a skill to truly master that skill. Now, for me, let's just do some quick basic math. I've been running games for 24 years. Now, during some of that time, I was running 4 games a week. During some of that time, I was running no games per week, right? So just to factor in for that, I'm going to actually remove 2 years. We're just going to remove 2 years from the equation. So we're going to go to 22 years instead of 24 years, just to account for missed sessions for periods where I wasn't gaming, which were rare, but I'm going to point that out. And then we're just going to average 52 weeks per year. So we're going to assume I only ran 1 session per year. Okay. Which, there were long stints of time where it was more than 1, but we're just going to, for the sake of, being fair, we're going to put that in there. So when we do this math, we go 22 times 52 weeks in a year, right? So 22 years, 52 weeks in a year equals 1,144. If we just factor in 1 session per year, and we're going to factor in 5 hours because I've run a lot of 4-hour sessions. I've run a lot of 6-hour sessions. I've run some 8-hour sessions. One time, my friends and I gamed for 12 hours straight. That was only one time. That's more rare. So let's just say we're going to go times that by 5 to get the number of hours. Okay. So that means that I have in the past 22 years, I think my math is right here, 1,144 sessions times 5 hours per session equals 5,720 hours of running games, literally running games. Okay. So that would make me half of a master. Okay. So that's just to put some perspective on it. And I've been running games for 22 years. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a quick little break from our programming here to let you know that I have some game slots open on my Start Playing games. I've got 4 games right now posted on Start Playing that I'm looking for players for. If you hurry up, you can get a slot. I already have 1 game completely filled up. I have a second game that has started gaining some players. And guess what? There are still slots left. So if you would like to play with me, see firsthand how I run games and experience a grimdark, gritty, dark fantasy sandbox game in my homeworld state over Genesis, well, guess what? Make sure that you click the link down in the description to my Start Playing profile and check out my games. I'm also running one iteration of my new homebrew superhero game. It's called Paragon. It's basically Marvel meets The Boys, very gritty, very dark. There's a comet headed for Earth, and then heroes are suddenly transformed, like normal humans transformed into heroes. They don't really know why, but at the same time that they're thrust into this battle for humanity's future, they're also thrust into a complex and dark web of government conspiracy and craziness, and it is going to be brutal and gritty and dark. So if you like those ideas, then make sure to check my links for the games that I'm running and try to join one. Run one with me. I usually do session 0 for free, so you can jump in and at least have a conversation with me, and let's create you a character and get you onboarded. I have a feeling that you will love it when you get started. All right, now let's get back to the video. Would I call myself a master of the game? I might call myself a master of the game. Does this mean that I never make mistakes? Oh, no, buddy. I make mistakes every single session. Does this mean that I always know exactly what to do? No. Does this mean that every single player loves all of my games all the time and I basically always succeed? No, friend. No, it does not. And I don't think there's ever been a game master who has achieved that. Look at some of the most popular game masters of our generation. Okay, Matt Mercer. He is infamous for GMs wanting to emulate him because so many people love his gaming style. And yet he probably gets more hate than any GM who has ever run games ever. People saying he's vapid, people saying it's all show and there's no depth and blah, blah, blah. Okay. There's a lot of, people will say the only reason he seems like a good GM is because of their expensive, they have a lot of production value in the show, Critical Role. Okay. Personally, I disagree. I think he's a great GM with a particular style, and he's just not everyone's cup of tea. But I'm just saying this to make you aware of the fact that there is no such thing as a perfect game master, and no, even the greatest game masters are not going to be well loved by everyone, and even the greatest game masters are still going to make mistakes. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to get better over time, especially if you use this method. You want to be working on your craft. You want to be focusing on these things. And in fact, if every one of us did this every time we ran a session, what are the 3 things that we did worse in that session? How can we deploy techniques that will help us to not repeat those things in the future? Instead, turn those losses into wins, get so good at those specific types of things that we end up being really good at running through those types of things instead of failing at them, right? If we always deploy this, we're only going to get better with every single session. Unfortunately, I spent a lot of my gaming career not deploying that because I didn't learn about the concept of extreme ownership and the value of adaptation and learning from lessons and applying those and basically always reducing our downsides. I didn't really understand or apply those principles until much later in my life. I was in my late 30s. I'm 39 now. I was probably 35, 36 when I really started to understand those concepts in my life. So, I have a lot of ground to cover. I want to keep getting better at the craft. I want to master the craft. And I really appreciate game masters who want to do this because the craft deserves to be mastered. Because we can run transcendent, emotionally resonant games that really mean more to everyone than just being a game. I believe this is so true, and it's a worthwhile pursuit with TTRPGs. So there's my answer to that question. There's my process that I would recommend for you, or for anyone feeling like they're not doing a good enough job. And I just want to leave you with a note of encouragement. Don't get too hard on yourself. Remember that this is a pursuit that is very complex. This is a skill that encompasses many different things. It's rules mastery. It's narrative, exposition. It is community building. It is community leadership. It is basically event planning, right? It is role play. It's almost theatrical at times. It requires a great deal of improvisation and thinking on your feet. And it requires you to do math. There are so many complex angles to being a good game master. To expect for a human to be perfect at all of them all the time is not realistic, and that's not even the goal. The goal is just to become a little bit better every single time. And get this, if you have players who keep wanting to come back and game with you, guess what? You've already crossed over that line into successful, my friend. You don't have to be some world-class game master up on a stage with millions of people watching you to be considered successful. If your players enjoy your game and they come back for more every single week, then you have already succeeded, right? If you are so bad at game mastering that players keep leaving your games, you can't keep players, well, maybe you're not quite a successful game master. But give yourself a little grace, because the fact that you're running games for people who want to game with you is proof that you've already succeeded. Now it's just building on that success to become even better. So please don't be too hard on yourself. Give yourself some grace, and let's all master this game together. Thank you very much for coming back for another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'll see you awesome people on the next one.